Stop scrolling right now. I'm serious. Check your pockets. Check your coin jar. Check that dusty old drawer in your kitchen. What if I told you a simple wheat penny, a dirty old 1-cent coin, could be worth thousands of dollars? We're talking hidden treasure coins, silent fortunes, quiet wealth nobody talks about. And today, we're revealing the top 5 ultra-rare wheat pennies that people are accidentally spending every single day. Do not spend these coins. These coins are secret wealth. Collectors are hunting them down. Some tiny detail makes them rare, and that one detail could change everything. Each coin we show today gets bigger, rarer, and more shocking than the last. This is not fiction. This is real auction shock. Stay right to the end, because the last coin will absolutely blow your mind. Coin number 1. Listen very carefully, because what I'm about to say could completely change the way you look at pennies forever. Somewhere in America right now, there is a tiny brown coin sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even a dusty old coffee can in a garage. It doesn't shine. It doesn't look special. And yet, if the right person finds it, that single coin could instantly outperform decades of savings, investments, and hard work. Most people would walk right past it. Some would spend it. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. This is not a rumor. This is not internet hype. This is one of the most shocking mistakes in U.S. coin history, and it centers around one very specific Lincoln wheat penny. Before we reveal which one, let me ask you something serious. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny before spending it? Because during one of the most chaotic moments in American history, the U.S. Mint made a decision that accidentally created one of the most valuable coins ever struck. And almost nobody noticed. Let's rewind the clock. It's 1943. America is fully involved in World War II. Copper is desperately needed for ammunition, shell casings, and military equipment. Every ounce matters. So the U.S. government orders the mint to stop making pennies from copper. Instead, they switched to zinc-coated steel, creating the famous steel pennies most collectors recognize today. Millions of steel cents are struck. And for the most part, the plan works. But here's where things go wrong. A small number of copper planchets, leftover blanks from 1942, were accidentally mixed into the production process. And when that happened, something extraordinary was born. A mistake so rare, so accidental, and so valuable that collectors today still argue over how many truly exist. Now pause for a moment, because this is where most people get confused. Not all 1943 pennies are rare. Not all copper-colored pennies are valuable. And not all mint marks matter the same way. But one combination changes everything. You see, most of the known copper 1943 pennies were struck in Philadelphia. A smaller number came from San Francisco, but when it comes to Denver, the story becomes almost unbelievable. The Denver Mint was incredibly precise. Their error rate was extremely low, which means when a copper penny slipped through in 1943 with a D Mintmark, it wasn't just a mistake, it was a near impossible accident. And that's exactly why collectors obsess over this coin. Now, here's where viewer retention matters, because if you're watching this and thinking, I already know about 1943 pennies, don't leave. The details you're about to hear are the ones that separate a worthless penny from a historic artifact. Let's talk identification. A genuine 1943 wheat penny with a D Mintmark must meet very specific criteria. First, it must be copper, not steel. A magnet is the quickest test. If the coin sticks, it's steel. If it doesn't, your heart rate should already be going up. Second, the weight matters. Copper pennies weigh around 3.11 grams. Steel cents weigh significantly less. Even small deviations can mean the difference between a dream and a disappointment. Third, and this is critical, the Mintmark placement. The D below the date must match known authentic examples. Counterfeits exist. Altered dates exist. Copper-plated steel cents exist. And many people have been fooled. That's why authentication is everything. Now, let me tell you something most videos never mention. Many of the real 1943 D copper pennies weren't discovered immediately. Some surfaced decades later. found in inherited collections, old cigar boxes, estate sales, and forgotten bankrolls. These weren't found by professional numismatists. They were found by regular Americans who simply didn't spend their change. Which brings us to an uncomfortable truth. Every year, rare coins are lost forever. Spent, damaged, melted, because people assume pennies are worthless. And that mindset has destroyed untold fortunes. Imagine holding a coin worth more than most homes and dropping it into a vending machine. That has happened. Now, let's talk collector demand. Elite collectors don't just want this coin, they need it. High-end Lincoln cent collections are incomplete without it. Museums want it. Auction houses advertise it globally. And when one appears, it doesn't sit quietly. It explodes. Phone calls, private offers, bidding wars. This coin doesn't just sell, it makes headlines. And here's the psychological twist. The fewer that remain undiscovered, the more valuable each one becomes. Which means time is not neutral. Time works against the average person and for the informed collector. If you've ever inherited coins, if your parents or grandparents saved change, if you've got old wheat pennies and never checked dates, this is the moment where you should not be multitasking. Because now, right here is the part most people wait 20 minutes to hear. In verified private sales and major auctions, a genuine 1943 Lincoln wheat penny struck in copper with a D Mintmark has reached values as high as $350,000, depending on condition and authentication. Yes, $350,000 for a 1-cent coin. And that's exactly why this coin is considered one of the most dangerous pennies in America to overlook. Now, before you rush off, here's the final and most important warning. Do not clean the coin. Do not scratch it. Do not test it aggressively. And do not trust online guesses. One wrong move can erase tens of thousands of dollars instantly. If you believe you've found one, professional grading is non-negotiable. And this is why this channel exists. We expose real U.S. coins worth serious money, protect everyday Americans from losing hidden fortunes, and break down the details that most people never explain. If you want to stay ahead, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who might be sitting on a coin collection without knowing its true value, because the next life-changing coin might already be in your pocket. Coin number 2, there are moments in American history that leave fingerprints so small, most people never notice them. No headlines, no warnings, just quiet objects passing through millions of hands, completely ignored. And today, one of those objects could be sitting inside your home, blended in with spare change, waiting for someone to finally understand what it really is. I want you to imagine this for a second. A coin so ordinary looking that even experienced collectors have dismissed it. A penny people have spent at gas stations, dropped into tip jars, and tossed into junk drawers for decades. And yet, under the right conditions, this single wheat penny has rewritten expectations, shocked auction rooms, and stunned people who never believed pennies could be valuable. This isn't a wartime era story. This isn't a famous steel cent. And this isn't the penny everyone brags about. That's exactly why it's dangerous. Because the most overlooked coins are often the ones hiding the biggest surprises. Before we go any further, let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever skipped past a wheat penny because the date didn't look special? If your answer is yes, stay with me, because the coin we're talking about today lives in that blind spot. The year is 1946. World War II has just ended. Soldiers are returning home. America is rebuilding, spending, expanding. The U.S. Mint is transitioning back to normal production after years of wartime chaos. And to most people, 1946 feels ordinary. But the Mint doesn't work in clean transitions. Behind the scenes, equipment was worn. Dies were reused. Standards weren't as perfect as collectors assume. And during this transitional year, subtle variations slipped through, variations so quiet that almost nobody noticed them at the time, especially on pennies. Now, let's talk about what most people get wrong right away. A 1946 wheat penny with no mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. And because Philadelphia didn't use mint marks during that era, People assume these coins are common, and many are. But here's the truth collectors understand, and the public doesn't. Conditions, strike quality, die characteristics, and microscopic details can turn a common coin into a five-figure shock. This is where casual viewers usually leave and serious viewers lean in. Because the value of this coin has nothing to do with rarity in circulation and everything to do with rarity in preserved perfection. The Philadelphia Mint in 1946 produced hundreds of millions of wheat pennies. Most were poorly struck, weak details, soft wheat lines, mushy lettering, heavy contact marks. These coins circulated hard during the post-war boom. But a tiny fraction survived untouched. No scratches, no corrosion, no cleaning, no wear. And when one of these coins appears with the right characteristics, the collecting world pays attention. Let's break down why. First, metal composition. The 1946 wheat penny returned to a copper-based alloy after wartime steel cents. That transition alone created striking inconsistencies. Some coins show deeper luster. Others display unusually sharp details. A small number exhibit extraordinary surface preservation that experts rarely see for this year. Second, strike strength. Many 1946 cents suffer from weak strikes, especially on Lincoln's coat and the wheat stalks. But the elite examples show razor-sharp wheat lines and bold lettering that almost jumps off the coin. Third, eye appeal. This is where money gets serious. Color matters. Red matters. Original mint luster matters. And almost all of it was lost to circulation. Now here's something most videos never explain. Collectors don't just compete with each other. They compete with grading populations. When a coin is extremely rare in top condition, even if millions were made, prices explode. Why? Because registry collectors need the best example, and there may only be one or two known. This is exactly what happened with certain 1946 no Mintmark wheat pennies. At auctions, when one appears in extraordinary condition, silence hits the room. Bidding slows. Eyes lock in. Because everyone there knows they may not see another example like it for years. And here's the emotional twist. Many of these coins were found by accident. Estate collections, old albums, inherited boxes, coins saved by parents who never knew what they had. Not investors, not professionals, regular Americans. Which brings us to a critical warning. Most people destroy value without realizing it. They clean coins. They polish them. They scrub away original surfaces. And with that single mistake, they erase decades of potential. A cleaned wheat penny, even a rare one, can lose most of its value instantly. That's why patience matters, education matters, and awareness matters. Now, let's talk about why 1946 specifically confuses people. Because there are no dramatic errors. No double dates screaming for attention. No famous stories taught in school. This coin doesn't beg to be noticed. It waits. And that's why viewer retention matters here, because the value story doesn't make sense until you understand grading reality. When a 1946 wheat penny with no mint mark is graded at the absolute top levels, where surfaces are untouched, strike is exceptional, and color is original, the market behaves very differently. Collectors don't ask, "Is this rare?" They ask, "When will I see another?" And often the answer is, "You won't." Now pause here, because this is where the video usually ends elsewhere. But we're not done. Because the next thing I'm about to say is the part most people need to hear before they rush off and dump coins on a table. Just because your penny is from 1946, just because it has no mint mark, just because it looks old, does not mean it's valuable. Most are worth only a few cents. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is microscopic. And that's why professional grading is everything. And now, after all that context, here's the moment people wait for. In elite auctions, when a 1946 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, preserved in near-perfect condition, fully authenticated and graded at the highest levels, has crossed the auction block, it has reached prices up to $97,000. $97,000. For a penny most people wouldn't look at twice. And that is exactly why this coin belongs on your radar. Not because it's flashy, not because it's famous, but because it punishes assumptions. And here's the final takeaway. If you own wheat pennies, don't rush, don't clean, don't guess, learn, inspect, protect, because history doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers through a quiet brown coin that survived when almost none others did. If you want more real US coins worth serious money, hidden values, and deep dive explanations you won't hear anywhere else, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who has old coins sitting untouched. The next overlooked penny might already be yours. Coin number 3. Let me tell you about this coin in a way that might sound uncomfortable because it's true. Some of the most expensive mistakes Americans make don't involve stocks, real estate, or business deals. They happen quietly, casually, 1 cent at a time. And by the time people realize what they've lost, it's already gone. There is a specific penny that has been underestimated for decades. A coin that never caused excitement, never made headlines early on, never warned anyone it mattered. And that silence is exactly why it's so dangerous. If you've ever held an old wheat penny and thought, this one doesn't look special, this video is for you. Because today's coin doesn't scream rarity. It doesn't rely on war stories. It doesn't depend on flashy errors. It relies on something far more powerful, being ignored. The year is 1948. America is moving fast. The post-war economy is exploding. People are spending, building, relocating. Pennies are flying through cash registers, pockets, jars, and change drawers at record speed. Nobody is slowing down to inspect a 1-cent coin. And that's when the real value story quietly begins. The 1948 Lincoln wheat penny, with no Mintmark, was struck in Philadelphia, just like millions of others. And that's exactly why most people never give it a second look. No Mintmark feels boring, ordinary, common. But collectors know something the public doesn't. When production numbers are high, survival rates in elite condition drop to almost zero. And that's the trap. Philadelphia mint coins from this era were heavily circulated. They weren't saved. They weren't protected. They were spent hard during one of the busiest economic periods in U.S. history, which means most of them were destroyed long before collectors ever cared. Now here's where retention matters, because this is the part that flips assumptions upside down. The value of this penny has nothing to do with how many were made. It has everything to do with how many survived untouched. Let's talk about what usually happens to wheat pennies. They pick up scratches. They lose luster. They get dull. They get cleaned. They get damaged by moisture, skin oils, and poor storage. By the time decades pass, most are shadows of what they once were. But a microscopic number escape all of that. And when one of those rare survivors surfaces, fully original, sharply struck, blazing with untouched mint color, the market reacts instantly. Now let's slow this down and explain why. First, strike quality. 1948 wheat pennies are notorious for weak strikes. Lincoln's hair often blends together. The wheat stalks lose definition. Letters flatten. Most examples look tired straight from the press. But elite examples show full detail, sharp wheat lines, bold lettering, and strong separation in Lincoln's portrait. These coins don't just look better, they look wrong compared to everything else from that year. Second, surface preservation. Original surfaces are everything. No polishing, no wiping, no cleaning. Once those microscopic mint surfaces are disturbed, value collapses. And unfortunately, most people improve coins without realizing they're destroying them. Third, color and luster. Collectors pay aggressively for natural red color. Not bright from cleaning, but glowing from untouched copper. This is the hardest quality to preserve over decades, which is why it separates ordinary coins from elite ones. Now here's a truth most videos skip. High-end collectors don't compete with the public. They compete with each other. And when registry collectors are chasing the single finest known example of a coin, price logic disappears. Because once you own the top spot, you control the narrative. This is exactly what happened with top-graded 1948 no-Mintmark wheat pennies. When one surfaces, it doesn't sit quietly. It doesn't wait. It becomes a target. Auction houses spotlight it. Collectors prepare. And bidding becomes psychological. Now here's where everyday Americans come into this story. Some of the finest known examples of this penny weren't found by experts. They were discovered in old albums, inherited collections, and forgotten boxes. Coins saved by parents and grandparents who never knew grading existed. That's why this matters. Because people still have these coins, and most don't know how close they might be to something extraordinary. But here comes the warning part. And this is critical. If you think you found one, do nothing. Don't clean it. Don't rub it. Don't test it. Don't listen to guesses online. One wrong move can erase decades of preservation and tens of thousands of dollars in value. Professional grading is not optional at this level, it's mandatory. And this is where most people fail. They rush. They get excited. They destroy what made the coin special in the first place. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, most 1948 wheat pennies are worth only a few cents. That's not the story here. The story is about the rarest survivors of a common year, the coins that beat impossible odds. Because condition rarity is real, registry demand is real, and the market proves it. And now, after all the context, all the buildup, and all the reasons, here's the part people stay for. In elite auctions, when a 1948 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, preserved in virtually perfect original condition, fully authenticated and graded at the highest levels, has appeared, it has reached prices up to $92,000. $92,000 for a penny most Americans would spend without a glance. And that is exactly why this coin matters. Not because it's flashy, not because it's famous, but because it rewards patience, knowledge, and restraint, and punishes assumptions. So here's the takeaway. If you own wheat pennies, slow down. Learn before acting. Protect before touching. History doesn't always hide in rare years. Sometimes it hides in ordinary ones that survived when almost none should have. If you want more real U.S. coins worth serious money, hidden values, and deep dive explanations built for everyday Americans, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who has old coins sitting untouched. Because the next overlooked penny might already belong to you. Coin number 4, I want you to do something before this video really begins. Picture a penny you've seen 1,000 times. Brown, dull, ordinary. The kind of coin people don't bend down to pick up anymore. Now, imagine that exact penny being the reason someone walks into an auction room and walks out with more money than most Americans earn in years. That disconnect between what something looks like and what it's actually worth is where people lose fortunes. Because the most dangerous coins in America aren't the flashy ones. They're the quiet ones, the familiar ones, the ones everyone thinks they understand. And today's coin is one of the best examples of that mistake. This is not a steel penny story. This is not a famous error everyone already knows. This is not a once-in-a-lifetime mint accident. This is about a wheat penny people still underestimate. And that's exactly why it matters. The year is 1942. America is on the edge of total war. Factories are shifting. Materials are being rationed. The U.S. Mint is under pressure, producing coins at massive speed while preparing for changes no one fully understands yet. And right before one of the most dramatic transitions in U.S. coin history, millions of pennies are struck that look completely normal. Too normal. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny, with no mint mark, comes from the Philadelphia Mint. No letter under the date. Nothing flashy. Nothing eye-catching. Just another penny, at least on the surface. And that's why people miss it. Because value doesn't always come from rarity alone. Sometimes it comes from survival. Now, let's slow this down, because this is where attention usually drops, and this coin story actually begins. Philadelphia struck an enormous number of pennies in 1942. They were used hard, spent hard, circulated endlessly. America was busy, distracted, and unconcerned with saving cents. Most of these coins were damaged within months. Scratches, Bag marks, wear, finger oils, poor storage, and then something happened that sealed their fate. Just 1 year later, copper would be pulled from penny production entirely, which means these 1942 copper wheat pennies became part of the last normal copper cents before a historic change. And almost no one preserved them with care, because no one thought they needed to. That's where the real rarity forms. Not in how many were made, but in how few survived untouched. Now, here's the part most people don't understand. Collectors don't chase average coins. They chase outliers. And with 1942 wheat pennies, outliers are brutal to find. Strike quality was inconsistent. Many coins came out weak. Lincoln's hair often blends together. The wheat stalks lose sharpness. Letters flatten. Even fresh coins look tired. But a microscopic number were struck perfectly. Full detail. Strong wheat lines. Sharp lettering. Clean fields. And if, on top of that, the coin avoided circulation entirely, avoided cleaning, avoided damage, and preserved its original mint surfaces, that's when everything changes. Because now you're not competing with casual collectors. You're competing with registry collectors. These are collectors who don't want a 1942 penny. They want the best 1942 penny. And if only one or two exist at the highest levels, price becomes secondary. Now, let's talk about mistakes, because this is where value dies. People clean coins thinking they're helping. They polish them. They white them. They brighten them. And the moment that happens, original mint surfaces are gone forever. A coin that could have been elite becomes average. A potential headline becomes pocket change. That's why knowledge matters more than luck. Now, here's something uncomfortable, but important. Some of the finest known 1942 no Mintmark wheat pennies weren't discovered by experts. They were found by families. Inherited collections. Old albums. Boxes untouched for generations. Which means coins like this aren't extinct. They're just hidden. But here's the catch. Most people don't know how close they might be, so they rush. They mishandle. They guess. They destroy value without realizing it. And once that surface is disturbed, it can never be undone. Now, let's clear something up before hype takes over. Yes, most 1942 wheat pennies are worth very little. That's not the story. The story is about condition rarity at the extreme edge of the grading scale, where population reports show almost nothing, where collectors fight over single points. Because when a coin reaches that level, it stops being a penny and starts being an asset. Now, stay with me, because this next part is where everything finally connects. When a 1942 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, preserved in astonishing original condition, fully authenticated, and graded at the absolute highest levels has crossed elite auction floors, it has achieved prices as high as $155,000. $155,000. For a penny most people wouldn't stop to pick up. And that is exactly why this coin belongs on your radar. Not because it's rare in circulation. Not because it's dramatic. But because it punishes assumptions and rewards patience. So here's the final takeaway. If you have wheat pennies, slow down. Don't clean. Don't guess. Don't rush. Learn first. Protect second. Act last. Because sometimes history doesn't announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides inside the most ordinary coin, waiting for the one person who knows what to look for. If you want more real U.S. coins worth serious money, deep dive explanations, and hidden value stories built for everyday Americans, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who has old coins sitting untouched. The next life-changing penny might already be in your possession. Coin number 5. Let me explain this coin with a statement that sounds wrong until you understand it. Some coins don't become valuable because they're rare. They become valuable because no one bothered to care about them. And that neglect, spread over decades, is exactly what turns an ordinary penny into a shockwave when it finally shows up in the right condition. Today's coin lived in that shadow for years. It wasn't famous. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't talked about in magazines or books early on. And because of that, Americans spent it without hesitation. Dropped it, scratched it, wore it down, cleaned it, destroyed it. And that's why this penny matters now. If you've ever believed that only early-date wheat pennies are valuable, this video is going to challenge that belief completely, because the coin we're talking about today comes from a year most people ignore. The year is 1953. America is confident, prosperous, busy. The economy is booming. Coin collecting is not mainstream yet. Pennies are doing exactly what they were meant to do: circulate endlessly. No one is pulling coins aside. No one is protecting condition. No one is thinking about grading. And that's where the mistake happens. The 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with a D Mintmark, struck in Denver, entered circulation quietly, just another cent doing its job. And because there was nothing visually exciting about it, people treated it like nothing special, which is exactly what sealed its fate. Because when a coin is ignored at birth, almost none survive childhood. Now, here's the part that flips expectations. Denver Mint coins from this era are notorious for heavy contact, marks, bag damage, and uneven strikes. Coins were dumped into bags, transported roughly, and released into circulation fast. Preservation was not a priority. So, while millions were made, almost all were damaged early. And condition, not mintage, is where the real story begins. Let's slow down and explain this properly. Most 1953 D wheat pennies suffer from weak details in Lincoln's hair, flattened wheat stalks, bag marks across the fields, dull, lifeless surfaces. Even coins that never circulated much often look worn because of how they were handled at the mint. But a microscopic number escaped all of that. Coins that were struck sharply, avoided contact damage, retained original mint luster, were never cleaned or mishandled. And when one of those coins appears today, it creates immediate tension among collectors. Because these coins don't just fill a slot, they dominate it. Now, let's talk about something most casual viewers don't realize. High-end coin collecting is competitive, not casual, not relaxed, competitive. Registry collectors are chasing rankings. They need the finest known example. And when a coin is extremely rare at the top of the grading scale, logic disappears. Two collectors can want the same coin. Only one can own it. And the market decides the rest. This is exactly what happened with elite grade 1953 D wheat pennies. Population reports show how brutally rare top condition examples are. While millions exist in worn condition, only a handful survive at the highest levels, and sometimes fewer. That imbalance creates pressure, and pressure creates price explosions. Now, let's talk about the most common mistake people make when they think they found something valuable. They touch it, they clean it, they rub it, they try to make it shine. And in doing so, they erase the very thing collectors pay for original surfaces. Cleaning doesn't add value. It destroys it. A clean coin can lose the majority of its worth instantly, no matter how rare the date or mint mark. That's why restraint is everything. Now here's the emotional twist that keeps this story grounded. Some of the finest 1953 D wheat pennies weren't found by professionals. They were discovered in old albums, inherited collections, forgotten envelopes, and boxes that sat untouched for decades, saved by people who never knew they were doing anything right. Which means coins like this aren't myths. They still exist, but most people don't know what separates ordinary from extraordinary. And because of that, they rush and lose everything. Now, let's reset expectations before hype takes over. Yes, most 1953 D wheat pennies are worth only a few cents. That is not the story. The story is about condition rarity, where one surviving example can outweigh millions of ordinary ones, where a single grade point can double or triple value, where one untouched surface can change everything. And now, after all that build-up, this is the moment viewers wait for. When a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with a D mint mark, preserved in exceptional original condition, fully authenticated, and graded at the very top of the scale, has appeared at elite auctions, it has reached prices as high as $76,000. $76,000. For a penny most Americans would never look at twice. And that's why this coin matters. Not because it's old, not because it's flashy, but because it proves something important. Value doesn't always come from being rare. Sometimes it comes from being forgotten. So here's the final takeaway. If you own wheat pennies, slow down. Learn before acting. Never clean. Never rush. Because the coins that change lives are rarely the ones people expect. They're the ones people ignored for decades. If you want more real US coins worth serious money, hidden value stories, and deep dive explanations made for everyday Americans, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who has old coins sitting untouched. Because the next overlooked penny might already be yours. So now you've seen them. 5 ordinary-looking wheat pennies that could be hiding extraordinary value. These aren't just coins. These are pieces of American history that collectors are fighting over. Tiny details, small mint marks, slight doubling, minor errors, and just like that, a 1-cent coin can turn into serious money. The scary part? Most people will never notice. Most people will spend them without looking. Most people will miss the opportunity completely. Don't be most people. Before you spend another penny, check your change. Check your jars. Check your drawers. Because hidden wealth doesn't announce itself, it hides in plain sight. And the next silent fortune could already be in your pocket. If you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss a rare coin alert. Hit that like button to support the channel and share this video with someone who needs to check their coins immediately. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which wheat penny shocked you the most, or if you've ever found a valuable coin in your change. And whatever you do, don't miss my previous video on Roosevelt Dimes, because some of those dimes are worth far more than you think, and you might already have one. Trust me, you do not want to miss that hidden treasure. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, check your change carefully.